disgruntledduck.com.
Hey guys, thanks for joining me again. It's Rob at Rob's Scale Model Workbench, disgruntledduck.com. I thought we'd do a slightly different video today. One of the questions I get asked the most is, what would Rob do? What do I use? How do I do things? So I thought I'm going to maybe clear up some of those things and we're going to hit my workbench. So if I manage to do this right, in this corner of the screen right now, you should see a little video of my actual workbench. Now, it is messy. It has been arranged in a certain way that is practical and not pretty. So what I'm going to do in this video is I'm going to take you through what I actually use on my workbench and the stuff that I use every day. The paint brands I use, the glue brands I use, the equipment that I use, the stuff that I use on every single model. Now if you've seen some of my videos, you'll know that I like to try out different products all the time. Now most of those products, some of them are good, but most of them are absolutely pony. They're absolutely rubbish. You do not need to spend your money on them. You can do the same thing for yourself a lot cheaper. So I'm going to go through what I actually use and how I get the finishes I do on my models. Now I'm not pretending to be one of the greatest model makers out there, but over the years and over the year you guys have been following me, I have progressed and I'm learning all the time. I'm just hoping right now with this video I can pass some of that on to you, and to some of you guys who are newer in the hobby, you might pick up a few tricks and a few things you might be able to do. So yeah, enjoy the video. Any questions, you know, leave them in the comments. I try and get back to everyone that I can, and I'll see you at the end of the video. So hey, I thought it'd be quite cool to do a different kind of video and just show you what I actually use to make the models that I make. So let's start off. I've got my little. So this is basically always on my bench. This is my go-to tools if we must. Right. So I've got some string because so many things I need string for. These are little gimmicks for the Tamiya paint stand, so we'll forget about those, but let's have a little dig in and see what we actually have here. The paintbrushes that I love the most, and I generally go to the most, are Army Painter paintbrushes. Now, I've got a load of paintbrushes in the collection, Tamiya ones, I've got some quite fancy Kolinsky brushes and whatnot, but I always tend to go back to these guys. I came from, when I got back into modelling many years ago, I was really into the gaming side of modelling and the miniatures, so these guys were a natural choice. But I found when I've moved back into specifically what I do is the 1/35 scale, these guys have been absolutely perfect. This guy, the dry brush, is probably what I use the most in my model making. That is probably the most important brush to me, as a lot of the stuff I do is airbrushing, so the finishing is slightly different. So yeah, that's probably the most important brush. They're all Army Painter brushes. We've got the Army Painter War Game Detail. We've got the Insane Detail, which I don't even know if we see how tiny the tip of that guy is. We've got the Character brush, and we've got the Dry brush. So that's basically what I use the most if we're talking about painting. Right, so on to some other tools. You've seen other videos, you may have seen basically what we use. Got a nice big chunky one, and we've got a fine X-Acto knife. Now we're out of brand on these guys do all the same job. So I'm not going to spend a lot of time on these because I've done that in another video, but this will do a lot of the heavy lifting. If I want to get rid of lines, seam lines and bits and pieces, where this is going to be for my more finer detail work. I've also got some scalpels that are more specific for masking. Right, so I'm just taking literally stuff that's on my bench right now. So these are the files I've got on my bench right now. I've got a completely flat one, it's a diamond file, so this will work both on plastic and it will work on metal. I've got a cylindrical file, which as you can see, especially for if I want to put holes in something and I want to get a nice clean hole when I've gone through. And then finally, this little guy, which is my most important tool, is flat on one side and it's curved on the other side, so that'll cover me pretty much every basic job that I want to do, going through any model. On top of that, in a little box, we've got a load of different tweezers. Now, I've showed you some of these guys before on different videos. I keep all of these at hand's length, so that pretty much any task I come across, they're going to keep me well prepared for that. And when we're talking about price range, all of these were bought on either eBay or Amazon, and that whole set was well under £10. Well under £10. These guys came as a couple for, I think, £1.99. That's one of the things you have to look at as well, is not necessarily looking for model products, but look at jewellery products, because these were for jewellery, and I think they came out in at £1.99 for these two guys. Same with this one. I've got a flat pair of these as well that came in about the same price. I generally use this curved pair for what I need. I've got some more pointed ones. These are great, you know, because they're reverse, so I can stick something in it. Oh, didn't go as planned. Stick something smaller in it, but I can now work on that while I'm holding it. It gives me a little bit of room to manoeuvre. So they're great as well. But again, like I said, all of these guys came in well under £10. So that's my tweezers. Villaggio. I'm sorry, it's not Villaggio, because I've been told so many times by so many people, it's Vallejo. Vallejo plastic putty. This is my go-to filler. I also have, if I reach out, a stick of green stuff. So this is the same as like your Milliput. It costs a little bit more because it's a modelling product. This goes back to the gaming days. This is green stuff. You mix this guy and this guy together, the yellow and the blue, you get a green. That sets in about a day, and it's a putty to work with, you know. But for a quick fill, this is what I do all of my gaps with. This stuff is perfect, and it lasts forever. I mean, I've had this, you can see it's battered. This guy's been doing me for about 1.5 years now, so there's no problem with that. So that's our putty, that's out of the way. What else do we have in a little box? Got a scribing tool. So anytime you need to rescribe something, panel lines, rivets, anything like that, this guy again, £2 or £3. That's again a daily product that I use. That is something I use on pretty much most builds. So moving on, what else do we have? We have glues. So I'm going to give you all my glues that I use in one go, and I've got this little guy as well. So I've got, now this is Tamiya, this is their regular cement. So if you check out these little gimmicks here, it's my guy Fuck It FC. He actually 3D printed these for me because I spill my glue so much. So they just sit in there and I can't knock them over. So this is Tamiya's regular glue. It comes with a white cap, but I've replaced it with the green one just because it's a finer brush in there. As you can see, it's quite full. I don't use that too often. What I use for most everything is the Tamiya extra thin. That gets used on every single build without a fail. That is the go-to glue. That is what I use for everything. Next along, we have Tamiya extra thin cement. This is the quick setting one. So it's a slightly different chemical makeup. This stuff stinks as well, so you need to be careful with this. This will get you high as a motherfucker. But it's brilliant, especially with extra small pieces. You've only got a few seconds to hold that in place and you just want it to seal. That's the stuff for that. That is, I will use that if I'm doing a build, maybe 2% of the build, we're going to be using this stuff. Fantastic. Really sets quickly, but it sets very quickly, so you need to be ready, and normally you need the parts in situ before you actually apply that stuff. Reval, the contact with the little needle. This stuff is great, especially for bigger surface areas. We use that a lot. If I'm joining whole parts, top and bottom, big parts, this stuff is the way to go with that stuff. Right, next along, glue and glaze. There's also MIG do one, and I know I've got it somewhere, but I can't see it right in front of my eyes at the moment. Oh, here it is, here it is. There's an ultra glue, which is for both PE parts and clear parts. I've had mixed results with that, so you know that stays on the side until I really need it. But this stuff, anytime I'm sticking clear parts together, this is the way to go. It's basically a kind of PVA glue, but built for modelers. You can use PVA, it's a lot cheaper. As you can see, this little bottle's cost me £5. I can pick up a bottle of PVA in this size for probably less than 50 pence. So it is what it is. Finally, this stuff. So this stuff is Tamiya cement, but it's mixed with old sprues. So this is more of a filler and a binder. So if I've got a thick panel line or something, a huge gap that the plastic putty is not going to cover, use a bit of this stuff. So basically what you do is you take an empty bottle, you put some cement in the bottom, some Tamiya cement, some extra thin, some Humbrol cement, and then you throw your sprues in, your little leftover bits, until you get a nice consistency. That's the consistency I'm working at. If you can see that, I don't know how well that shows up. It's like a caramel sort of consistency. I can brush that on, leave that for 24 hours, all the chemicals, all the glue will evaporate, and I've got a solid piece of plastic to work on. So that's that guy. So that's another thing that I use on quite a few models. Moving on, super glue, CA glue. This one, I think I get 7 of these in a pack for £1 from Poundland. I don't see any difference in any other CA glue or super glue out there. They all work exactly the same, they do the same thing. I've got this one here, it's a slightly thicker one that I tend to use for photo etch parts, but I'm still, with the whole photo etch thing, I'm still quite new, so bear in mind what I'm saying now in this video. In a year's time, a lot of these things will change, so just know that at the minute I'm using the cheapest super glue I can find because it works like any other super glue. Alright, next off, cheap little pair of nail scissors. They do all my cutting needs, they do, if I want to cut decals up, they cover all stuff like that, and they work pretty perfectly, to be honest. There's no issues at all with those. So it's a little pair of scissors. I can also trim bits off of sprues. It's just so many little things that you need these for, opening packets, just so many things. And again, they cost me about £2 on eBay. There's, you know, and they're going to last me 20 years. As long as you don't let them get rust and you keep them looking nice, they can last you for a long time. Other things, another thing that is an actually essential is these little clips. Now, I think last time I checked I got 8 of these for $2.99. I think it was Amazon or eBay, but these to hold parts together, you really can't go wrong. You know, you don't need to spend tons of money. I've got tons of different types of clamps for all sorts of prices, but these are the ones. I've literally got a little tub here, and these guys sit. There's quite a few there. They sit on the edge of the workbench, so I can just reach out and grab those whenever I need it. That's another thing that's a daily basis. Cocktail sticks. I've got mine from Asda, from sticking glue, dipping into super glue, to scraping paint off of clear parts. And another essential. Got a branded version, Johnson's Baby Cotton Buds. Again, for wiping glue, for cleaning up pigments, another indispensable thing. You might not think you need it at the time, but once you've started to use these and they're available to you, you'll soon realise how did you ever do without them. Another little guy, it's a photo etch pencil. Now, you can pay £3 or £4 for these easily. So basically all it is, it's a wax pencil. And what you do is you get your piece of photo etch and you just dot it on, and your photo etch will stick to that wax. It instantly melts and sets. It's really bizarre the way it works. But again, if you look for these under the modelling guise, you will pay £3 or £4 a pencil. If you then look for these under jewellery pickers, because they actually use them to pick up jewels when you're jewellery setting as well. I think I picked up a pack of 5 of these for £2 from China on eBay. You need to wait a few days for them to arrive, but you know, if someone said to me, I'm getting married in the future actually, and someone said to me, don't ever say to someone you're getting married. Don't tell the business you're getting married, because they're going to add 20 to 50% on the price of anything because you're getting married. Same thing with modelling tools, you know. Some of my sanding brushes and sanding tools are for nail art. And you can buy exactly the same stuff, but it's branded for modelling, and it's 50 to 100% extra. So just be cautious. A lot of stuff you can find for jewellery making is going to suit you just perfectly for model making. So that's that little guy. That's that little tub taken care of. So I'm going to branch out a little bit further. We're going to go to some more finishing products now. So we've got some sheets of sandpaper. Again, 2,500. We've got 800. We've got 600. We've got I can't even see what this one is. Is that a 991? I don't know exactly. No, 7,000. There we go. We've got a 3,000. And you can see where I've torn bits off of these, but something else you can see is these are for auto. So again, rather than buying something for model making, these auto papers are cheap as chips, and you can buy them in packs of each grade, or if you find the right store on eBay, you can see you can buy a pack of 5 different grades and you're pretty much covered. Now these guys, you can see some of these papers I haven't even used because I've just not had the need to. I found the ones that work for me, but I think all of those pages there were probably, well no, definitely they were under £10. Whereas if you were to buy this amount of sandpaper in a modelling shop, you're going to pay a lot more, because you're probably only going to get squares like this, and you're going to get maybe 10 squares like that for £10 or £15. It's just the way the business works. So that's my sandpaper. That's another thing. That's every build that gets used on. Should I say? My airbrushes. My airbrushes again. They're a little bit dirty at the moment, but again, these guys are cheap as chips. This guy's a 5mm brush, 5mm point, £13 on eBay. So this is for spray and varnish. This is spray and undercoat. That does absolutely everything I need for £13. There's no need to spend a ton of money on it for what it is. Works perfectly. I've had no problems with it. And that's my big nozzle brush. My finer nozzle brush. This is running a 0.3. As you can see, it's stuck because I've not made models in about a month. Everything's been in storage, so everything needs a good clean. But this is my 0.3 brush. This is everything. You can control this. You can do the fine camo work. Anything you can do with this. It's absolutely beautiful. Again, this guy under £20 on eBay. This is what I'm using at the moment. And if you see my videos, you see my Instagram, you can see the work that I'm producing, and it all comes out of these guys. You can turn out a decent looking model without spending hundreds and hundreds of pounds on a brush. Now there is a couple of brushes that I would like, airbrushes, but when I see an airbrush for £160, I'm like, how many models can I buy for that, you know? And this guy at the minute has given me no trouble. So, you know, other people can argue about that, but that's what I'm doing. Right, so that's that. Let's move on to our final stage of this video. What else do we use? Right, so I'm not going to go into varnish because I'm at a cusp at the minute. Decal softener and decal fix. If you've seen my video on those subjects, they're the guys we use. They're the guys that just by chance turned out to perform best in that video. That's what we use. Vallejo, decal softener, decal fix. That's done. There's another video, you can check that out. Got these little squirty bottles, these little jobbies. That is for, got my water container. This guy cost me 10p. Came from China, cost me 10p on Amazon, had to wait for a month for it to get here. That's always there on my bench with some water in, thinning paint, cleaning stuff, whatever you need, that guy's there to stay. There's no problem, you're never going to have an issue. I do have, for my thinner, and this is one of the reasons I use this little pipette, Tamiya thinner, cleaning airbrushes, thinning paints. That's the guy that I go to at the moment. There are other brands, I've used other brands. There's not a massive issue in not a massive issue in the difference of what they do. There can be a slight difference in price, but I got this for a good price, and it was the cheapest at the time rather than another brand. So I went with this, but I'm not tied to this brand. Pretty much any acrylic thinner will do. Any cellulose thinner will do. They pretty much do the same stuff. I've literally this is going to cost you about £8 or £9, and you get, I think it's there you go, 250 mils. I've just bought a huge tin of this stuff, a 5 litre tin of cellulose thinner for £15 off eBay from a chemical company. And I've tried it out, and it performs exactly the same way. There's no difference in the way it performs. I've sprayed stuff with it, it comes out exactly the same. So any cellulose thinner I would be quite comfortable with using. Now onto paints. If I'm spraying Tamiya. That's just the way it is. That's just what I've got used to. I've got very comfortable in spraying that. That's, if I'm spraying a paint on something, it's always going to be Tamiya. So that's what I'm spraying. If I'm painting by brush, now I've got a huge amount of Army Painter war paints. I've got a huge collection of those just because that's the first thing I went to. There's no issue with them. They're great paints. They are what they are. What I'm slowly moving over to is Vallejo model colours, simply because you just get so much more coverage out of them. So that's going to last me a hell of a lot longer than that's going to last me. The price points, these guys are about £1.50 to £2, these guys are about £2 to £2.50, but I'm probably going to get double the amount out of this guy. So that's my painting paints. Finishing stuff. So I'm quite cheap, as you know. So let's see what we've got here. We've got, again, we've got some AK pencils here. I mix and match those with some cheap ass pencils I got from my local bookshop. Mix and match. These are a little bit better. These are £7 for 5. These are 15 pieces for £4. Now admittedly a lot of the colours I'm not going to use, but I've got some base in there, so I can use these. These guys I've just started using. These guys are absolutely fantastic. I can't say enough good things about these. These are absolutely wicked, and I reckon it's going to take me years to get through those. So that's what we do with those. Now, washes, pigments, etc, etc. If I'm going with pigments, again Vallejo. I'm not a Vallejo mark, but I've just used these guys and I've not had a problem with them. They're quite reasonable, and what's the point in changing something when it works? So that's the pigments I go with, Vallejo all day long. Got a huge selection. When we're talking about washes, what have we got on washes? So I do every now and then, I have got some enamel washes I've bought in from AK. They are on the pricey side. You can pick up 2 washes and a paint in a little box set, and that's going to cost you anywhere between £15 and £20. So on the next point you're going to see why I'm not so keen on that. So £15 to £20 for 2 washes and a paint. Bought myself a pack of oil paints on Amazon. These guys were £6. So when you look inside, I've got all the colours in the rainbow. Now if you want to be specific, you want to buy raw umber, burnt umber, maybe a raw and burnt sienna, a white and a black. That will cover you. Now I've been using these guys for well over a year, and you can see still how much paint is in there. It's, you know, these you just thin down with a little bit of white spirit or something like that, and they're going to last you forever. You can make exactly the tone, the colour of wash you want to make with these. They're absolutely amazing. So it's more old school. Yeah, I mean, you've got the convenience with the pre-made washes that they're going to set exactly to the colour you need for that vehicle, for that camo or whatever. It's a little bit older school, but you're going to save so much money doing this, where it's insane how many legs you're going to get out of these compared to what you're going to get out of the pots. And then finally, while we're talking about weathering, I've also got some pastels again. These are well under £10. You can see some of them are chunked off a bit. Scrape these down with a knife, whatever. I've got all my earth tones in there that will do the same as my pigments. I can control the colours a little bit more. I can brush these onto rivets and bits and pieces. That's another thing that I can do. It's just another tool in my arsenal, and it's a very reasonable tool in my arsenal. Rather than buying a whole bottle of pigment in a specific colour, I've got all those tones for literally the price of two bottles of pigment. And I can mix these. I've got a little pestle and mortar I bought from China, again for about £1.99. I can grind these down. I can work exactly the way I work with my pigments once they're ground down, or I can use them on the stick to work. So yeah, that's what I'm using now. I haven't talked about the varnish, because if you're watching, and if you watch in the future what I'm doing on the channel, I'll drag one thing in. The primer I use. Primer's doing my nutting as well. I'm currently using, again it's Vallejo. That's not to say I don't have other primers. I've got an AK primer here. I've got a MIG one shot here, and I'm having a nightmare at the minute with a lot of priming. This is the one that I go to back and back to, shall I say, back and forward to. That's the one that just gives me the I don't know, maybe the best result at the minute. The others, I can't get my head around the thinning, the relationship of how much of what and what I need to get it perfect. This is what I'm doing on that. I think that's going to about round up this video. It's been a bit of a different one. I've been a bit hyper for it, because I do love talking about this stuff. The only other tool I've got in my arsenal is my little pin vise. And I have a little set of drill bits. So if we take on every single thing I've shown you in this video, we're looking at probably you can get all this stuff around about £50. And that's for a whole setup, and that's going to get you, like I said, you see the models I produce, that's going to get you to that stage. That's going to have everything you need to get there. You don't need to spend tons and tons of pounds on something, you know. I mean, my airbrush setup, I've got these airbrushes, but literally my compressor is a £30 job off Amazon. I think it was for nail art, and it does the job perfectly. So you don't need to spend that insane amount of money. So hopefully this video has been a little bit helpful to you. I know it's a little bit different than what I normally do, but anyway, check back. I'm building tons at the minute, because when I'm filming this we're still in lockdown, so there's tons of content coming. If you need any help, if you need any advice, leave a comment, and until next time, happy modelling. So guys, thank you so much for joining me for that video. I know I got a little bit hyper in the middle, because I love talking about this stuff. So yeah, any questions, ask away. I love seeing models, I love seeing your guys' work, I love seeing everyone's work. I'm in this hobby because I love this hobby, and I want to see this hobby progress further and further and further. So if we can keep this moving along forward, that's absolutely excellent. So yeah, hope you enjoyed the video. As you know, there's always tons more coming on YouTube, on my website. I'm just trying to progress. I'm just trying to become a better modeler myself, and I'm trying to take you guys along on that journey with me. So thumbs up from me, hopefully it's a thumbs up from you, and I'll see you guys soon. Thanks for joining me.
Don't forget to hit the subscribe button, give the video a thumbs up and leave a comment.